Okay, picture this. A bustling metropolis with power plants, factories, a super tight security system, all packed into a space smaller than a grain of sand. Well, today, that's where we're going. We're taking a tour of that city, the cell, the fundamental building block of literally all life.
I mean, just look at this. This isn't some piece of modern art. It's a single cell. It's a whole universe in miniature, just crammed with machinery and communication networks. It's incredible. Every single living thing you can think of is made of these.
So that's the big question, right? How does this one tiny little unit manage to do everything from producing energy to building these incredibly complex proteins? Well, you're in luck, because today we're taking a guided tour to find out.
But, before we actually step inside, let's take a second to appreciate how we even learned this hidden world existed. Our tour is going to start with a quick trip back in time to meet the people who first got a glimpse of this city of life.
Yeah, figuring this all out wasn't just a single eureka moment. It was built up piece by piece over centuries. It all started with a guy named Leeuwenhoek who found these tiny little animalcules swimming around in pond water. Then, little by little, the picture came together as Brown spotted the nucleus and Virchow realized that cells can only come from other cells. The real game changer, though, came in 1838. This statement right here from Schleiden and Schwann, it sounds so simple to us now, doesn't it? But back then, this was absolutely revolutionary. It tied all of biology together under one single powerful idea. And this idea applies to a crazy variety of cells. Most are totally microscopic. But get this, the largest single cell on the planet is an ostrich egg. But it doesn't matter if it's an egg you can hold in your hand or a tiny bacterium you can't even see. Every single one of them needs a border. And that's our first stop. All right, so our tour of the cellular city starts right here at the border. Every city has to have some kind of gatekeeper, right? A security force that decides who gets in and who gets kicked out. Well, for the cell, that job belongs to the cell membrane. You can think of this membrane as the cell's own personal bodyguard. It's thin, it's flexible, but it's also incredibly smart. Scientists have a fancy term for it, selectively permeable, but really all that means is that it's like a bouncer at a super exclusive club. It has a strict guest list, letting in nutrients, letting out waste, and keeping all the riffraff out. So how do things actually get past this bouncer? Well, there are two main ways. The first is called diffusion. Just imagine someone sprays some perfume in the corner of a room. After a few minutes, you can smell it everywhere, right? That's diffusion, stuff moving from a crowded area to a less crowded one. And the second method, osmosis, it's the exact same idea, but it's specifically talking about water moving around. And getting this water balance right is absolutely critical. For instance, if you put a cell in a really salty solution, all the water inside is going to rush out, and the poor thing will just shrivel up. But if you put it in pure water, water rushes in, and it can swell up like a balloon and even pop. It's this super delicate dance that's happening all the time. We've passed security, so now we are officially inside this bustling metropolis. And it's not just empty space in here, it's filled with all these specialized districts and facilities called organelles. Each one has a critical job to do, so let's go visit a few. Our first stop is the city's power grid, the mitochondria. You've probably heard them called the powerhouse of the cell, and honestly, it's the perfect description. They take the food we eat and turn it into this special energy molecule called ATP. Think of ATP as the city's currency, or like millions of tiny rechargeable batteries that power every single thing that happens. Without mitochondria, the lights go out. Simple as that. Next up, we're visiting the sanitation and recycling department. Meet the lysosomes. These are tiny little sacs filled with really powerful digestive enzymes. Their job is to break down waste and any old, worn-out cell parts, just to keep the city clean. They've even got a nickname, the suicidal bag, which sounds grim, I know, but it's because if the cell gets badly damaged, the lysosome can actually burst and digest the whole cell to protect the rest of the organism. Okay, now let's go see where all the stuff gets made. This is the endoplasmic reticulum, or just the ER. It's this huge network of membranes that's basically the city's main factory. You've got the rough ER, which is rough because it's covered in these little workers called ribosomes that build proteins. And then you've got the smooth ER, which specializes in making things like fats and lipids. So, the factory's churning out all these proteins and fats. But where do they go? Well, they get sent over here, to the Golgi bodies, which is basically the cell's post office or shipping center. The Golgi takes those materials, modifies them, sorts them, and then packages them up to be shipped out to wherever they need to go. So, we've seen the power plants, the factories, the post office. But who's running this whole operation? Who's calling the shots? Our tour is now taking us to the most important stop of all. We're headed to City Hall, the central command, the nucleus. And here it is, the nucleus. It's usually the biggest organelle in the cell, and for good reason. It houses the cell's master blueprints. It controls literally all the activities of the cell, from its growth to its reproduction. Everything we've seen so far, it's all taking orders from right here.
So how are all those blueprints stored? Well, inside the nucleus, they're organized and packed into these incredibly compact, thread-like things called chromosomes. Think of them like the individual volumes of a massive instruction manual. We humans have 46 in total, organized into 23 pairs. And if we could zoom in even further, right down onto one of those chromosomes, we'd find the code of life itself, DNA. This is it, the famous double helix molecule. It contains the very specific genetic instructions that make you, well, you. It is the ultimate source code for the entire city.
Okay, so a city with one of everything is amazing, but how does an organism get from being just one cell to the trillions that make up a human being? How does it heal a cut? The last stop on our tour is all about how the city grows and makes copies of itself.
So the cell really has two different playbooks for dividing, and each one has a totally different purpose. First, there's mitosis. This is for all the everyday stuff, growth, repair, you name it. One cell makes a perfect copy of itself, and you end up with two identical cells. It's how your skin heals. Then there's meiosis. This is special. It's only for reproduction. It creates sex cells like sperm and eggs, which only have half the genetic info, all ready to combine and create a totally new, unique person.
As our tour wraps up, let's just take a final look at the two main city plans we see in nature. Animal cells are what we've mostly been looking at, but plant cells, they've got a few key upgrades. They have a really rigid cell wall for extra structure, and they have these things called chloroplasts, which are basically their own personal solar power plants. And that brings us to the end of our tour. It's just mind-boggling when you really stop and think about it, that from this one single, incredibly organized little unit, you can build everything. A whole city, a huge forest, an entire living world. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. A single microscopic cell holds the complete blueprint, all the machinery, and all the potential to create an entire complex organism like you or me. So what does that tell us about the nature of life itself? Pretty amazing, right?